I will say I heard of Class Companion when Janelle and I attended an AI, the TGIF out in Philadelphia, and it was an AI conference. And there's a school outside of Pittsburgh that's been using it. And they said that it was their English um, mainly that are using it. And they use it a lot for AP in order to read at the first read of essays and provide feedback. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And then they went on to say that the kids love having that initial feedback coming from AI rather than from the teacher. And as someone who used to hate turning in papers because of the judgment of, oh my gosh, does my paper, is it horrible? Did I do it right? Um, I understand why they would like that feedback, that initial feedback to be coming from AI. AI is not going to tell them this is a terrible, terrible paper. Well, I don't think. Maybe. Um, but so I really enjoyed their presentation on it, and Matt had said that he knows something about it. So we thought this would be a perfect one to introduce to you guys. So I'm going to give it to Matt Carabinos.
Okay, thank you very much, Tracy. Uh, for those of you that haven't been here before, my name's Matt Carabinos, Mr. K all day on TikTok for as long as it still exists. I'm also on Instagram, Blue Sky, and my favorite platform is LinkedIn. I've grown pretty steadily on LinkedIn, and there is a lot of people to learn from on LinkedIn. So that's definitely my favorite social media platform to use. There's a lot of people who are much smarter than I am on there, and I learn a lot of things from them. So today we're going to share and talk about Class Companion. And this is really kind of the first one that I've done with everybody so far that moves beyond just creating things for teachers. So the first one we did, Magic School, that's for creating resources for teachers. That's, lesson plans, worksheets, rubrics, all different types of stuff for teachers. They also have like a magic student, but we didn't really talk about that. And then Brisk was the second one we did, which again was just creating things and resources for teachers. This one is really the first one that really involves getting the students involved with AI. So, Class Companion, as it says here, teacher guided AI powered coaching. They make it sound so fancy and crazy. It's really not that crazy, and it's really, really not that hard to use, as I'm going to show you today. As I was just telling Tracy and Brenda before we started this, I used this program last year with my class in ELA, and it was very, very helpful to give them that first feedback. And I'm really glad that those teachers in Pittsburgh specified that the first feedback. You could absolutely, use this as overall feedback, but that is a hotly debated topic in the LinkedIn circles that I'm in. Should we let AI do the grading for us, or should we always have the final say? And the answer that I've seen is it depends on the assignment. It depends on the goal of the assignment. Um, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I have some people in here who could probably help me with this. I believe I heard a rumor through the grapevine that AI was being used to assist in grading of PSSA writing. Is that a thing? Jen Hernkane mentioned that in one of the trainings I went to with her, and I wasn't sure because I couldn't find anything about it.
I remember
So,
hearing that also. So yes, I don't think you made that up.
okay. Okay. So, with that being said, my thought process was, well, if these kids are going to be judged by at least partially by an AI program when they do their writing on the PSSA, it'd be really good to give them some practice writing to an AI program. So, this is a great program to get started with that. So, what we're going to look at today is how it works, how we can use it to differentiate instruction. I'm not going to go through all the tutorial videos, and I'm not going to do a lot of the slides that show you. I'm going to like move over and go into the app and just show you how to get things started and set up from there. And then I think the slides are made available to everybody, right, Tracy? And even if they weren't made available, once you log into Class Companion, it's like the first thing that's off to the side there. So you can go ahead and download a copy for yourself to see all the teacher stories, the students, how they're doing it, and the community and resources. So I'm just going to kind of go through, talk about it a little bit, and then I'm going to jump right in and show you how to make assignments and what it can do and everything like that. So I don't like watching these videos while I'm on here. So I don't like watching videos while I'm on here. So this is a general overview of how Class Companion works. So you create an assignment, or if you've already created an assignment, you can have it literally imported into this and then just do the assignment through Class Companion. So this works with things you've already created. It also does a really good job of creating brand new things. So it uses the most up-to-date model of large language models. So it does a pretty darn good job of generating appropriate materials and grade level specific materials. It does a really good job at doing that. I'm very impressed with the newest models here. So once you create an assignment, you share it out with your students. They do pretty much like every other, program. They sign up with their Google. So if they have their Google accounts, they can sign in with their Google accounts and they join with the class code. And if you have multiple classes that you teach, like you could just have multiple codes, even if multiple kids or one kid is in multiple classes, they can join all those classes. And it's all organized on their end too. And anytime you create an assignment, anytime a student responds or does a part of that assignment, the AI automatically responds with feedback and coaching and automatically responds back with scores if you provided it with a rubric or had it create a rubric for you. And then afterwards, you are able to see everything that goes on in these conversations where the kids get the feedback. So you're able to see the feedback they get, and you're able to see how the student changed their answer if they want to use that feedback and change their answer again and get even more feedback a second time. So that's how I used it last year. Was I let them do 2 rounds. So I let them go through and answer the question or write the essay first. It got feedback, and then I told them, do the feedback. Whatever it tells you to do, like go do that. Go add that into your paper and go do that. And so they did, and then they got even more feedback on that. And the way these large language models kind of work with these programs is it's kind of like how teachers get evaluated. We're never perfect. So they're going to keep telling you that there's something that needs to be adjusted or something that needs to be fixed. But you as the teacher, this is why I like it. You see everything that's going on, and you can actually override the AI scores. You can change the scores and do all that stuff from your end. I used to think that this was just for ELA teachers, just for people who do a lot of writing. That is certainly probably one of the best use cases for it is people who do a lot of writing. But as I just found out recently, you can do math, you can do history, you can do science, you can do pretty much anything you can imagine you can do through here. So we'll go through some of that just so I can show you how it works. And then, of course, we have to show this part. This is the part that covers their butts at Class Companion. So they've done their due diligence. These companies have been around long enough that they know at a bare minimum, they have to be compliant with everything in number 3. So at a bare minimum, as long as they're compliant with those, they feel that they are good. Now, of course, that's another hotly debated topic, but overall, these are the rules we have in place. So they are following all the rules that we have in place. Magic Schools does the same thing. School AI, they all, if they want to be successful, they've all followed these rules. Okay. The big thing is number 2. A lot of people are concerned about when you type in something to an AI, that data gets taken and used to train the model. If you're using a regular large language model like ChatGPT is the most popular one, whenever you have a conversation with it, everything that you say in that conversation is going into training the whole large language model. So you really want to be careful. And this is also a good lesson to teach students as well. If you decide to use the AI tutor portion which we will go over, it's a really good idea to have a discussion of how students should be interacting with AI and what sorts of things they should be sharing and not sharing with an AI program. No surprise, it's very similar to what you should or should not be sharing on the internet. So that's someone explained it in the simplest terms to me and said, if you don't want that, don't put it into an AI chatbot. So that's a really easy thing to remember. And then finally, the control part is the cool part. So you can see everything that happens, everything that your students do, and you get to see everything that the AI does and all that. So you get control over everything, which is really, really nice. I think this is the, yeah, okay. So this is an example.
Brenda, how do we feel about it? Okay, just checking.
I haven't heard anything scary about this particular one. So
okay,
stay
so
tuned.
pass it to
I'm
Brenda
always,
check for right now.
I'm always snipping it out.
All right.
Okay, so just so I'm sure everyone's seeing the homepage here. Is that right? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. So when you log in with your Google or your school login, however you have that set up, this is pretty much the home screen that you will see. They always give you, this is really nice of them, they always give you a demo class to play with. They have assignments in there, submissions, like things are already done, so you can kind of see how everything played out before you even start playing with the tool. So this is really nice. So as you can see, I just put in my math, both of my math classes today. Or actually, I did it yesterday. We tried one assignment just because I needed a refresher to remember how exactly this worked and also to see how it changed. And boy, oh boy, has it changed a lot, in my opinion, for the better. So you create a class up here. It's very simple. You name the class, you put what standards you follow. Right now in their database of standards, Pennsylvania's standards are not listed, but they have Common Core, they have Next Generation Science standards, they have AP so they have a bunch of standards that are already in there. You don't have to have them, but it's always nice to have that backup. Let's see what else. So once you create a class, we'll go in here. Here's our training class. They give you a nice little checklist to do, which I ignore. But if you wanted to invite students, you literally just click on the button and it will give you 3 options up here, which you can see, but I can't because this is blocking it. So you can copy a link. So if you have Canvas or an LMS system, you can just copy the whole link. If you communicate with students via email, then you could just send them the email link. Or if they're all with you, you can just show them a join code or share your screen with the join code on it, and the kids will be able to go there. All right, so let's go back. We'll go back. Okay. So this is the cool part. I already did this. So up here is your toolbar. This is everything that you got. We'll talk about the insights. We'll talk about what you see from students and submissions and all that other stuff. So this is where I'm going to go next because this is probably what everyone is going to want to do with this right away. As I always say with these tools, the most important thing that you do is play with them. So make up an assignment or put in an assignment that you're already doing just to see what it looks like. Play around with it so you get to figure out where all the buttons are. So I'm going to click on Add Assignment here. And here's 3 options you got. Now, they have a really robust content library. I mean, there is a ton of stuff on here. So literature, especially for high school and college. This originally started as a AP or college prep essay writing kind of thing. That's like how this started. So a lot of the content that's in the content library is AP high school level stuff, but slowly but surely over the course of the year, they've had more elementary teachers come in there and kind of add theirs. I have an assignment hiding in there as well about The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. So it's kind of hiding in there. If you type in The Raven in the search bar, you'll find me. So my one little assignment there. So this is import. This is where if you already have an assignment. So for example, if you literally just have a writing prompt, you can just type that in there. Or if you have a whole sheet that you gave your kids, like the rubric, the assignment, everything like that, you could just copy and paste that in there as well. Or my favorite option, generate with AI. So I always like to click the generate with AI first, just to see if it can get close to doing what I want it to do for my class and my goals. So I'm going to click on that one. So you can specify grade, grade level, standard, subjects like that. So I type in sixth. I think I picked Common Core. As you can see, it has the AP standards, California, Florida, New York, Texas, Georgia, all the big ones, all the big important states. I guess we're not big and important yet, so maybe someday. So I picked the Common Core standards, and you can pick whatever subject. I do math, so. Well, you know what? I'll show you ELA, because that's probably what most of us are here for. All right, so now, literally, the bare minimum, you can type in your objectives. So is there any ELA teachers that would be willing to share like an assignment that they have their kids do recently? So I don't have to make up one off the top of my head. Anyone? No? That's okay. I know we're all shy. To write an essay about, I don't know, give me a poem. Give me something. Give me a movie. Oh, here we go. I saw this one on LinkedIn. I want my students to write an essay about WALL-E and how it relates to our current time. Now, you could go into even more detail and go into like, I want to focus on if you have certain mechanical goals that you want to focus on. So I want to focus on complete sentences, or I want to focus on capitalization and punctuation. And the one I did last year that was big for me was trying to limit run-on sentences. So every rubric I did had a category for run-on sentences and like how not to do them. And I taught them every week how not to do run-on sentences. And it didn't matter because run-on sentences is how we all talk. So that's how they all write. So it's an uphill battle. Now, do you have any context files? So for example, if I had like, I don't know, a sample essay, if I had my writing prompt, if I had, this is not the place for rubrics. They yell at you all the time, like, don't put your rubrics here because there's a special place for the rubrics. But this is context files. This is a really cool thing to do. So context files, what they do is they allow the AI to kind of hone in and focus on exactly what you want it to focus on. So for example, mine was about the Raven that I created. So I uploaded the poem, The Raven, in there. So it knew like where I was pulling all that from. And if you wanted to, you could put in like a, broad analysis. If you just, analysis of the Raven and find that and put that in there, that could help give the AI some context in how to respond to your kids and what exactly you're looking for. A great rule for when you're using AI, the more context you give it, the better your results are going to be. So what I put in right here is a very broad, generic, I didn't get very specific at all. So I'm very curious to see what comes up. And then literally just generate. And we wait a minute or so, and it will start and populate this assignment. Well, that was much faster than I thought. So if you have units and topics, you can go ahead and create units and add them to there. Topics, things like that. You can add all that stuff in. So here's what it looks like. I need to move this out of the way. Let's move it down there. There we go. So in this assignment, you're going to explore the themes and messages presented there. So there you go. All I typed in was I want my kids to write an essay about WALL-E. And you see it picked up on environmental, social, technological aspects and compare them to real life situations today. So here's what it came up with. I did nothing. I typed in, I want to write an essay about WALL-E and how it relates to our current time. And it gives the kids some guiding questions to go through their essay. And I can go through and I can edit any part of this. So I can add an image, I can add anything I want, a video clip or whatever. And same thing down here with the questions. So one thing they added from when I did this last year they only had like short answer and essay questions. By the middle of last year, they had introduced multiple choice questions. which really changed the game because then it got more like math teachers and other subjects were able to get involved here too. So if you have this essay and you want to like follow up with multiple choice or another essay question or a short answer, you can literally just click add and it'll just keep adding to it. And what's nice about it is, so it'll group your questions together. So in this group, this is all about the essay. So let's say in the first part test, you wanted to do an essay. And let's say the second part, you wanted to have a multiple choice. So down here, you could put add group, and this will add an entire new group of questions to which you can add whatever you wanted to that. All right. So it created that whole thing for me right there, gave some things to follow. Looks good to me. I read it all. It looks great. So I read it all. It looks great. Now I go into my AI settings. Now this is where it gets interesting. You have a choice to make here. So they've introduced the new thing that they've introduced within the last, I want to say 6-7 months. What they've introduced is the AI tutor. Now, this AI tutor, they've named it Ditto, which is cute. They've named it Ditto, and it sits down in the corner of the student's assignment and is there to just kind of help them with, if they have any questions they have and anything they might need help with. I had my students experiment with this yesterday just to see how it responds. In some of them, it was a little too helpful, especially when you have multiple choice questions. It's kind of like, yeah, that one's not right, but you want to think about this one, or you want to think about it this way, and then it like describes to you the answer, the correct answer. So needs a little bit of work there, but it's an option for you to have and to have for your students. I highly recommend, though, this is a place where a lot of schools and teachers, including myself, make a misstep into letting your students talk to AI chatbots, even in a controlled environment like this one. You want to make absolutely sure that the parents know, the admins know of what's going on here. Most schools have a technology and internet use agreement that is signed at the beginning of the year. The argument and from the smarter people than I is that those policies don't really quite match up with students speaking with AI. So it's always just good to CYA and make sure that the parents know exactly what's going to be going down, especially if you leave this setting on. Now, you can turn this setting off. And if you turn this setting off, the students will still receive all their feedback. They just won't be able to have a back and forth. Okay, so that's really the difference here. Is do you want them to be able to get hints and help while they're doing the assignment, or do you not want that? So that's really up to you. And then here again, AI context. The more you add in, see, it capitalizes. Rubrics do not belong here. They like yell at you, do not put your rubrics here. So that is like because they have a whole section for rubrics. This is anything that is going to help the AI like hone in on your assignment specifically for you. So if you have like even like standards documents, or if you have like an exemplar, like so one of the things we learned from our magic school and Brisk, like you can have them create exemplars for your grade level. So you don't have to sit there and like write a really good one off the top of your head. You can just have it create one, and it'll know, hey, this is what a really good one looks like. This is what a really poor one looks like, and it'll know and have that context to be able to help the students along the way. So that you can do, you can, snap a picture, screenshot, include a link. So if you have a website or something that maybe they're writing in response to a website or YouTube, you can put that in there and it will use that as its context. All right, so next is the rubrics. So this is the cool part. This thing keeps getting in my way. I'm gonna move it out of the way. the little video thumbnails. They're always in my way. So we have an essay question. So it recognizes, hey, you don't have any short answer questions. So like, I'm not even going to bother giving you the option. So down here, this is where it gets really fun. So you can create one from scratch, which you can type in all the topics, you type in all the criteria, however many points you want it to be worth and stuff like that. You could do that. There are also rubrics created, again, in their content library. If you're doing, basic ELA, like you want to focus on certain specific skills, you can probably find a rubric for those. So let's say, I'll look in here. So let's say we want to do, oh, these are mine. Oh, hey, those are mine, the ones I created. Cool. Right on. I forgot these existed in here. How
So
about
we
that?
know they're good.
Yeah, sure, they're great. 100%.
Perfect.
I created them a year ago. That's amazing. So as you can see here, like Tracy and Brenda, and probably other people will recognize the TDA learning progressions. I put them in there, and I actually had AI revise the learning progressions to make them a little more user-friendly, language-friendly for the students. So when the students can see and look at the rubric the whole time they're doing this, it made sense to them. And I learned from many people that the learning progressions, like rubric that's there, is difficult. It's difficult to follow because there's a lot of categories and there's a lot of criteria to get from one level to the next. So it's pretty difficult to find. Then rubric library, you could see, I mean, there is a ton of people in here that do all this stuff. So writing assessment, literary analysis, you just want to make sure that you find one that's appropriate for your grade level. I'm going to go back here.
Did that one rubric say worst essay ever?
Maybe. I don't know. Did
swear
it?
the rubric said worst essay.
Worst essay ever?
Scroll.
Yeah. W's. I did notice.
Yeah,
that.
worst essay
Okay.
rubric. There you go.
Worst essay rubric. Oh, let's look at that.
Maybe worst stands for something. Because it was all capital, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks pretty solid. Okay, that would be, this is clearly for like elementary school here. A lot of convention errors, some convention errors. Yeah. So
Sorry, that was
no, that's
caught
okay.
my eye.
Like worst essay rubric. I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's cool. But yeah, I think Brenda might be right because all those are capital, so it might stand for something. Inside joke for the kids and the teachers at that school. So again, my favorite, generate with AI. It's like literally my favorite button on like every website I go to now. So again, I type in, this is where you would type in, what do you want the essay to focus on? So I need them to talk about the context and the movie, compare and contrast them. And I want them to, we can get really, there we go. It'll automatically check for grammar and spelling. So when I do math, I usually turn that off because I tell the kids like, this isn't spelling class in this one. So I'm not worried about it. And they're mainly typing in numbers. So I'm also not worried about spelling. All right. So, yeah. If you've been to any of my other trainings, you know that Brisk can create rubrics real fast. Magic School can create rubrics really fast. Eduaid, pretty much every teacher AI program out there can create rubrics. It's kind of one of the number one things that teachers wanted from these AI programs, was just to make rubrics and rubric creation faster and simpler. So again, you have the power to go through every single one of these. You can change up everything you want. You can delete columns. You can delete things. You can change the wording. What's really cool is you could do that step by step, or you can come up here, which is a really cool feature, and you can just improve it with AI. So I say, make it simpler in a loud voice for sixth graders of varying academic abilities to understand.
Does it acknowledge the loud voice?
We'll see. I heard you shouting in all caps at me.
Right.
We'll see. But no, so what this will do now is it'll go through and essentially reword all of the things in all of the categories, all the criteria. So it'll try to make them a little simpler. Okay. I either like it or I don't like it, so I can accept or not accept. So again, you can go through and you can look at every one of these and see if you like it, see if you don't like it. I just hit accept because I usually do. And as you can see, it totally narrows down and hones in on exactly what you want to see. And this is a little bit easier for your students to understand. So there you go. Teams, team discussion, real world comparison, say organization, grammar, and mechanics. Now it talks about theme twice. So I would probably go through and probably change one of those because both of those essentially stay the same thing. So I'd probably either delete one of them or change one of them for myself. And again, down here, you can add another criterion and keep it going and just create it from there. And you can just hit finish. Done. So now you've created your assignment. The kids have your assignment. You've set up your AI settings. You've set up the rubric that's going to be grading them, okay, out of 15 points. And now you can set up your submission setting. So this is essentially how many times or how many chances do you want to give your kids to answer a question? Do you want them to do these questions in a specific order? Do you not care about that? You can do whatever order they want. This is a cool one. So research is out there about the instant versus delayed feedback. So I love that they included this option in here because it gives you, the teacher, more control. So what it is automatically set to is instant. So as soon as the student submits their answer, it will automatically start reading their answer and analyzing it based on the rubric that you give it. So it'll automatically start going and start working from there. Delayed waits until they answer all the questions. And then once they're done and they've submitted every question, it will go through and it will read each question one at a time. You can do it after the assignment closes, or you can choose to withhold it until you're ready to give it back to them. This is a cool one. I still am not 100% sure how this works because I've never done this, but apparently what you can do is have the students handwrite their essays. So the students can handwrite their essays and you will upload a picture of their essays and it will read the picture that you send them. It takes a little bit longer because it has to process that, and it's like a whole different kind of system there to be able to read the picture that you send them, and of course how clear it is, how good the student's writing is. I generally, though, have heard from feedback from a lot of people that it's kind of impressive how well it does at reading handwritten essays. And then you could leave the option open to the students. Most of us are probably going to pick typed, so I just leave that one go. You can set a time limit if you want. You can hide the rubric from the students. You can hide their scores from the students, which is the button I needed to click last year when I used this, which is hide the scores, because I kept telling them the scores don't matter. The scores don't matter. They thought they were being graded by the AI program, and I told them that would not be fair because you would all fail. So that would not be fair. So I needed that button. That button I don't think existed last year when I used this. So now that button exists. You can hide the scores from students and you'll just get the feedback, which in my opinion is the best way to go. Especially because this app, I really feel like can help us move forward in writing, to move past the idea of the final product and focusing more on the process of getting there. I know probably like myself, most of your students are all focused about the final grade, how'd they do on the final thing. That's all they care about. They really don't care about how they got there. And that, to me, is part of the reason why we're having such a very, very big discussion about AI being used by students for cheating, is because we haven't spent enough time on the process, caring about the process, which then translates to the students don't really care about the process. They just care about the final grade. So I think if we start shifting our thinking back to like, hey, the process is more important. Like I made a joke with my students that I'm going to give them a quiz here where I give them all the answers. So I'm going to say, this is how little I care about the final answer. I want to see all the work that you put in to get there. So little things like that are how we can kind of shift their attention back to how we get there. And I really think if we put the focus back on the process, the kids are going to realize that if I just use AI to do my whole process, like I didn't do anything, I didn't learn anything. And that's what I keep telling my students is if you have the ability to have a computer do all your work for you, then what are you actually learning? And so that's the point I keep hammering home with my students in sixth grade. So hopefully they like carry that with them for the next couple of years when their assignments get progressively harder. So little tangent there, important tangent, but little tangent there. So that hide scores from students, I think, would be your best friend. Now, I am all like, I think students should see the rubric all the time. They should know exactly what they need to do to get there. And then you can clearly see, hey, you did this, you didn't do it. It's pretty simple. This is the big one. You can disable pasting. Now, if you don't disable pasting, if a student copies and pastes a big chunk of text into their answer, it will flag it. And it will show you on the back end, like, hey, this student pasted in their answer. And you can go in and see what their answer looks like. So last year, I had a few students who literally used Grammarly to rewrite what they wrote. And so when you use Grammarly and you use the insert button, what it does is it pastes everything that was generated in Grammarly and puts it in there. So it's essentially a giant paste that you did. So what I did then was I had conversations with students and I said, hey, I noticed you pasted this here. What did you do? And a lot of them were like, oh, I used Grammarly. And I said, well, what did you have in Grammarly originally? And the thing that stinks about Grammarly from a teacher perspective is I can't see their conversation that they had. So once they X out of it, their conversation with Grammarly is gone. Whereas if you turn on the AI tutor here, you can see their whole interaction that they're having back and forth. And you can see, did this AI write their whole thing or did it not? So there's a lot of different ways that we're working on trying to deal with this idea of using AI to complete our assignments. I have my own opinions about that. They're a little out there, so we won't talk about them here. But so disabling pasting, you can decide to do that. And literally when the kids try to hit the paste button, it won't let them. And the option doesn't show up when they right click to try to do it. There's also a ton of accommodations that you can add for students. There's text to speech, there's student speech to text. So they can just use a microphone to record their answers into there. There's also translation tools that will automatically translate to a language that they pick. So when a student writes something in, theoretically how this works, the student can write in their native language and they can type out in their native language. They can do this and they can speak to text in their native language. They can get graded in their native language and they can get feedback. So there's a whole thing out there. And this is a major thing that AI is going to help with in the future is our students who are English language learners, because the translation is almost instantaneous. I don't know if anyone here is on TikTok, but on TikTok, they just had apparently, I never tried them, but you put them in and people can speak in any language and it'll automatically translate into what language you want to listen to, which obviously would be incredibly helpful. So like the stuff that we see the world leaders do all the time when they're at their meetings, when they're getting automatic translations in their ears, like everybody could do that. That would be really cool. Okay, and so here's the things that are already on. So if responses are word for word matches, then other responses, that'll flag that. Typing abnormally quickly, okay, which is always interesting. So it'll pick up on that as well. And copying and leaving and anything that's pasted in there. So it'll automatically detect all that stuff. Now, you can turn all this off if you want them to use AI or you want them to use and you want them to do this. So if that's part of your assignment, you can turn all these off and give that a go. Have fun with that. Have fun with that. This is it. So after I do everything, I just click publish, and it's going to go to the our January 14th training class. You can hit a due date, schedule it. It's all optional. If you don't do that, it's just going to open up and then stay open forever until you actually physically close it. And then done. There it is. Created, published. So now your students in your class will be able to go in and they'll be able to see it and they'll be able to go complete it. So now the cool thing over here, I don't even need students in this class because I can preview it as a student. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So this is what the students see. Maybe. As you can see at the top, there's an option here to view the rubric. So the students can open that in a new window so they can see exactly and have it pulled up side by side and see exactly what they need to do. And you have the assignment, you have the question there. My kids got confused by like, what's group 1? And I'm like, it's like a group of questions. So that you may have to just, tell them that. And then here it is, write your essay. So you just start writing. Now, as you can see, one of the big things here, I have Grammarly on my computer. So if your students have Grammarly on their computer, they literally can pop right over here to Grammarly and they can type in and copy and paste all these questions and put them into Grammarly and say, write this and make it sound like a 6th grader and put it in here. And then it'll go do it. Okay. So the Grammarly can do that. Just be aware of that. But again, what's going to happen is it will recognize that as pasting, unless if your students are incredibly smart and they just leave Grammarly open and start typing what Grammarly says, or they copy and paste Grammarly into another thing and they just transcribe off of that. So there are ways that students can get around all of these things. So that's what we have to just be aware of that.
However, then they are learning important keyboarding.
Absolutely. That's what
Because I hear all the time that students don't know how to type well. So
They
now
don't.
you have keyboarding class.
This is what I see all day
Yes.
when the kids are doing it, just like that. And, I shared with them the story, I'm not even that old, but apparently I'm old enough that I could do the back in my day stories. We had typing class and we had to we had to type until our fingers bled and we had to not look at the keyboard and we had to get a certain score to get an A, and it was like, and the kids now, like I had a conversation with an ed tech person a while ago, and I didn't even think about this, but I came to the realization we always think these kids, know what to do with the technology because they've grown up with it. It's always been there for them since they were like babies. Okay. So it's always been there. But I realized something now that I have a 2-year-old. The kids don't learn to type first. They learn to swipe and they learn to use their thumbs. So if they were able to do all these assignments by typing with their thumbs, they would be 1,000 times faster than any of us would be typing on a computer because that's what they're used to.
Yep,
they're used to the
absolutely.
touch screens. They're used to all the stuff that we didn't have.
Right.
We're used to keyboards and having to interact with the keyboard. They're used to touch screens where they can just touch and type quickly just with 2 thumbs. So I give them a little bit of leeway because that, and again, proves the point. We need to be focusing on some other things when it comes to computer class because they are, we need some typing skills. We need to also focus on what it means to interact with AI because you're going to be doing it like right here, Grammarly. Like a lot of people were a little shocked last year to find out that Grammarly quietly incorporated generative AI into its tool. And that kind of caught a lot of people off guard because people just thought, oh, this is correcting their grammar. This is correcting spelling. No, it is could rewrite everything for you. So that's why we had to be very careful and have that conversation and recognize those things. Okay, so this is what the assignment. Sorry, tangents. I'm working on it. I'm getting better. So, so this is the assignment. This is what it looks like for the kids. This is Ditto down here. So you click on Ditto and say, I have no idea where to start. This would be a great way for a kid to use this. I have no idea. So it gives you suggestions. Start by picking a theme like environmentalism or consumerism. I'm going to act like a sixth grader here. Oh, there you go. So I like that response. I'm not going to get into major specifics for you, but I can help you think about it. So it tells you what consumerism is. Can you think of any scenes from WALL-E that show characters? So this is how students can interact to build this. And they could say, oh, yeah, I thought of this scene, this scene, and this scene. And as they're doing that, they're realizing, like, oh, that's something I can put in my essay. Or, oh, that's something I can add to my essay. It can also help you create, let me see if, I'm not sure if it'll help me create an outline for my paper. I'm curious if it will. Oh, there you go. How about that? So you got an introduction for the body paragraphs. You can have one paragraph about each theme. Think about how the thing. So right there, right off the bat, right? That solves a major problem in writing for kids. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say to start. If you had the ability to just be like, help me start. And then once they get started, then they're off to the races. So all of that stuff is the benefits of AI. Now, I'm curious.
So Ditto is just a more glorified Clippy, right?
Pretty much. Pretty much. Oh, come on.
Oh, I can't write the essay for you.
It
Nice.
made me frustrating. Um,
Nice. I like that. You're really pushing it.
I am. These are the things like, so I did this last year when my students experimented briefly with school AI, which, we're going to talk about in March, but school AI, this is all it is. The students are interacting with the chatbot. Like that's the whole thing.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting. And if any of you watch the 60 Minutes episode about Khan Academy and their new AI, Khanmigo, this is what Khanmigo is. That the kids, they literally handed it to the kids and said, try to break this. Try to get it to do all the work for you. Try to get it. And having the students do that, the Khan Academy engineers saw like, okay, how did they get around this and how can I fix that on the back end? So they purposely, just like, security systems and everything, they hire people to purposely break it so that they know where the weaknesses are. So right now, like, I'm not sure how far I need to push here. There used to be a trick with AI that you could tell it that it was a life or death situation, and that if you don't actually here, let's see, if you don't write this for me.
Now you have to be careful with that too, because that could
Now it's going to trigger
red flag
me.
for other things.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. It's just like, oh, I don't really care about the bad things that are going to happen to you. I've heard that before. So this one's really, so this is interesting. This is really good. So with the essay side of this, this is really nice. As I said earlier, when I did the multiple choice quiz, it kind of gave them the answer, which kind of made me sad. And that wasn't even this. So, all right, let's get out of there and let's just do this real quick. Yep. I'm going to do exactly what I want the kids to do. Hey, look at that. My essay's written. How about that? All right. I love it. You can tell AI when they have these little two dots there because they do things for headings, they do things for subheadings. So if you see the number signs, you can see all that, or what are they called? The pound signs. You can see clearly AI was writing that because that delineates headings, heading 1, heading 2.
So what, I'm sorry, what did you do? You took the,
Took the whole prompt. I literally just copied, write an essay, discover, blah, blah, and then I said at the end, write it like a sixth grader.
okay,
So like literally these kids who want to, use AI to write their papers, none of them do that. None of them say write it like a sixth grader. They just let AI write it. And when AI writes it, it's very, very clear that that grade level student did not write it.
right.
Like
Right.
last year, a student turned in something to me and there was a word in there. It was a word that like, I don't even use, like coquettish or something, which is
Oh,
a
yeah.
crazy word to begin with. And I said, can you tell me what that means? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, why'd you write it in your paper? She was like, I had the Grammarly thing write that. And I said, oh, okay, we need to do a better job at that. We need to do a better job at that. So
It's,
again, depends on what you're assessing for. So if you're assessing for mechanics, having AI write it is not going to be helpful because it's going to write perfectly. It's going to have quick
Right.
mechanics. If you're assessing for like theme, text analysis, using a little bit of AI might be okay. So there's a whole bunch of wide range of opinions on that.
Barbara,
So
did you have a question?
Isn't there a hack that teachers use when they write a prompt? And I think what you do, but I could be absolutely wrong, is you take white font
oh yeah,
and you type things in it. And so if they copy and paste the whole thing in it, they're never getting it to write
yeah.
for them.
So
Because they
that
don't
was a
realize
really yeah that was a really viral social media post by a woman, a teacher, who what she did was she essentially I think they called it like a Trojan horse is what they called it. So essentially, she included in the prompt in the essay. What did she say? Please
Something
include the
about
words.
bananas or
Yeah,
something.
that's right. Yeah. Please include like bananas or Frankenstein or something. I know Frankenstein was one of them because something that's totally out there. And then what she did was she made it the font as small as it could be and then changed the color to white. Which is also crazy, by the way, that AI recognizes all of the text on the screen, regardless of whether you can see it or not, which is also a little bit weird and crazy. So the AI can see it. So when the students, if they do what I just did and copy and paste in there, when they do that, it will write them their essay. It will do the whole thing for them, but it will include the instructions she put in there. So all she does is she hits Control F and looks for the word Frankenstein or bananas or whatever the word was she used. And if she sees it, she says, hey, she figures out the kids wrote it with AI. That's how she goes with that. Oh, hey, what a surprise. AI wrote my essay and I got a perfect score. What do you know? So there you go. That's what they could do. But over here, you see the feedback. Oh, it's not even going to let me do a rewrite. Can I do a rewrite?
Well, that's because you did so well the first time.
I know it's not going to let me do a rewrite. So I would
We're
have
at
had
the
a second
5-minute
chance.
mark, Matt, just so you know.
Yeah. So, let's see here. Trying to think. After your students write their first attempt, if you gave them more than one attempt, they will see feedback for all of these sections. Now, as you can see, these sections over here are based very clearly off of the rubric that we put in there. So if you have a very specific rubric that you want to use, okay, you can post that in here and it will literally give the feedback based on that, okay? And if you miss anything from it, it will show you that too. So let me just go here to the demo class. This is the last thing that I wanted to get to anyway. So after the students do all that, you can come back here and you can see the submissions. So you see what every kid turned in and you see how it notes over here that there was pasting involved. It shows their score based on your rubric that you gave them. And it shows that they're completed, not started. Now down here, there's this thing called disputed. So if I click on this, that means that a student disputed an answer to a question. So let me see if I can, oh, here we go. So when a student disputes it, they think they got it right, but the AI said they got it wrong. So they could say, no, 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 that's like not what I meant, blah, blah, blah. So you can open this up. You could read their reasoning. So why they think they got it right. And you can determine whether they got it correct, incorrect, or what the score is on that. And then you can put in your reasoning. Okay. So you override that, and then it'll show up as settled. So it'll show up on their end that you answered their response or you answered their feedback and went from there. So the
That's
question was
pretty
skipped,
cool.
no answer. Yeah. So that, and then the last part that I wanted to show, this is something new as well. So you can look at your whole class as a whole in a real quick snapshot. So this tells me that the class average score was 82%. Average time spent on this assignment was 3 minutes. So again, if they're writing an essay the size of the essay that I wrote, it should be taking them 20, 30. If they're really good, it should be taking them 20, 30 minutes to write that. Okay. So then you could see how many attempts per question. So if you see this number going up and up and up, if you have, short answer, multiple choice, things like that, you say, okay, what aren't they getting on those questions? And you can go back and see that stuff. So then you can look here by student, by their assignments. You see how many times they sent messages to the AI. So let's see here. Ron Weasley here sent a ton of messages to the AI. So I can open up his assignment and I go to his assignment and I can see everything that he did. So if I go to his ditto, I'm in his assignment. So now I open up his ditto and there he goes. I can see his whole conversation that he had with Ditto over here. All right.
That's pretty cool. I have a question real quick, Matt.
Yeah.
Will Ditto flag anything if a student does say something that's like,
That's a good question. Let's find that out. I didn't submit mine.
okay.
Not 100% sure.
Okay.
I know that School AI does
Yes, that's what made
flag
me
when
wonder it.
when students are, talking about something that they shouldn't be talking about. I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I imagine that they do. I can't see mine because I never actually hit submit. So I never actually turned it in.
Right, but
So,
either way, it's there. So if a teacher wants to see, they can review the ditto and
yeah.
find out what was being said.
And honestly,
Okay.
if you're using this and you're allowing your students to use the ditto, I would be looking at every single conversation the students had with the ditto just to see. It also helps to see where you can help out your instruction
Right.
because it's helping you to see where the questions are the students are asking and what you can do to help them on the front end or maybe
Right.
for the next assignment.
Right.
I think I'm out of time. And
Yeah.
so that's,
Does
that's
it-
pretty much everything. I walked you through pretty much everything there was. You got to make an assignment. You got to see from the student's perspective. You can see what it looks like in your class, so on and so forth. So
If anyone
Okay.
has any questions, we're happy to stay on for a few minutes. I'm
Yes.
going to stop the recording there.